Hello there, my name is Moshe Daniel and I am excited to begin a series on astrology, sharing information that I have discovered and learned through various sources. Today we'll be looking at the relationship between astrology and musical harmony, and it will give a lot of encouragement and confirmation to those of us who believe in astrology and know it works, has no doubt that it's a powerful, profound, three-dimensional knowledge of the cosmos. And for those who are skeptical and don't believe in astrology, seeing the relationship between the musical harmonic relationships and the harmonic relationships of the planets may plant a seed of questioning, maybe there is something to astrology after all. So let's take a look. Alright, so here we have our astrological pie, made up of a circle of 12 slices of pie, each representing the houses or the zodiac signs. We won't get into that now, we're not looking at that at this moment. But here we look at each of them, each of the houses has 30 degrees between houses, for a total of 360 degrees. That's 30 times 12. And we all know that the circle contains an angle of 360 degrees, which is all around. Now, if we look at music, music has something very similar. It has 12 notes, that is 12 steps, that returns to the original note, which we call the octave. Now, if we look at all the steps, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And if we attribute each step to 30 degrees in music, we have 360 degrees, which we will represent by putting the notes on the pie. Here are all the notes, and then if we put them on the pie, we have them going around the astrological zodiac, which is what this looks like. Now, let's go to the next step and look at some of the relationships that exist in music, so that we could start blowing our minds at the absolutely incredible nature of the creator and creation. So here we'll look at the first one, which will be the trine. Now, the trine is a major aspect in astrology, and it is known to be 120 degrees between two planets. So if I look at my astrological birth chart, I can demonstrate a few different trines. For instance, between Pluto and Jupiter is a trine, between Jupiter and Saturn is a trine, and then Saturn and the midheaven here is a trine as well. So these blue lines that make 120 degrees are examples of trines that I'm using my astrological birth chart, which I got from astro.com. Visit it, it's a great site. Okay, so then let's look at a specific example on this makeshift chart. If we have Mars trining Venus, then this looks like a relationship between the first house and then the house 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is where E sits, and that will sound like this. If I play the musical note C, and then I play the other note, which is made by 120 degrees, so we have 30, 60, 90, 120 between C and E, then we have this. This is what it sounds like. That's the C, that's the E. Together it sounds like this, which is called in music a major third, which is a harmonious relationship. From the website Astrology.com, it is said that this aspect possesses a soft energy. A trine allows for the easy flow of energy between planets. This aspect is generally favorable and light and joyous in nature, and we could actually hear it. We could hear it in the music that is created by the relationship between those two planets. Let's go on and we'll hear more about such a thing. Let's look at the square now. The square in astrology is a major aspect made up of having 90 degrees between two planets on the zodiac. And here I have an example of a square on my chart between my moon and Jupiter. And also, for instance, between Neptune and Mars is also a square. That's 90 degrees. This is also taken from Astro.com. Now, if we look at the square on this fictitious chart, and we make it between Mars and Venus again, then we see three half steps, so 30, 60, 90 degrees, we get to the E flat. Now what does that sound like on the guitar? It sounds like this. Here's the C, and here's the E flat. It's a different sound. This is a minor third. This is the major. Sounds bright and happy, and this is the minor third. Now what does Astrology.com say about this relationship? It says, the essence of a square is friction. You can literally hear it in the music. The energy surrounding a square is forceful, intense, and power-laden. The risk to the individual influenced by a square is to ignore this aspect's unmistakable energy. So it's something that does require work, because there's a conflict there. Just as a minor note sort of depicts a sadness. It's not totally harmonious. Okay, let's go on. The opposition. Now this one is interesting. This one really demonstrates the relationship of astrological aspects and musical harmonies. Now you can see the opposition by the red line straight across the screen between Neptune and my conjunction of Sun, Venus. And if we look at, we'll depict that in this chart, we have this opposition. Now the opposition is 180 degrees, so we count 3 times 6 steps, so C, C sharp, D, E flat, E, F, F sharp. Now in music, this is called a tritone, and the tritone is the most dissonant. That's what it sounds like. It's the most dissonant sound in music. In tonal music, the tritone normally resolves inward to a major third. That's what is said on Wikipedia.com. Now look at this. This aspect, this is from Astrology.com, as its name would indicate, presents opposing forces. And literally in the sky, these planets would be opposite each other. Mars's energy may find itself at war with Venus's golden glow, for example. More often than not, however, an opposition is a poster child for conflict resolution. Just as at Wikipedia.com it said that the tritone normally resolves inward to a major third. So that would sound like this. That's the resolution. So just astrology, the astrology knowledge has taught us that the opposition wants to resolve, and musically we know it also resolves towards the major third, towards the harmonious relationship. So we see the total relationship, the one-on-one beautiful relationship between astrology and music. Now here's the quincunx, or also called the inconjunct, which you can see by the green dotted lines. Like for instance, between my ascendant to my sun is a quincunx, and that's 150 degrees, which if we look at will look something like this. 150 degrees, and it will be 5 steps, so it will be the C to the F. Now that sounds like this, a suspended fourth. Now a suspended note in music is something that we know wants to resolve to the major third, or possibly even up to the major fifth. But in this case, we hear that suspension note, and Astrology.com tells us that this aspect, above all, demands that adjustments be made. Things will appear muted or unclear, and one must resolve to gain some focus on the matters at hand. There's a direct relationship again there between the amount of steps in the musical note and the steps in the planetary relationship. It's amazing. Now imagine the complexity of having different stuff like the grand trine, or the T-square with 2 squares and the opposition. Imagine the grand cross, it has 4 squares and 2 oppositions. Imagine the mystical rectangle made up of 2 trines, 2 sextiles, and 2 oppositions. And the grand trine made up of 3 trines, and the different musical harmonies that these make. And for instance, imagine the Star of David, which I took from my chart, adding the vertex and Eris, the 10th planet, and I just cleaned it up a bit to illustrate. And you can imagine 2 superimposed grand trines that have male-female relationship with each other. It's very interesting. So thank you very much. This concludes part 1 of the astrology series.